Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Boy, isn't it great to be here? Yes. It is really a delight to be able to be here to celebrate the opening of Nannie Helen at 4800. This is actually one of the centerpieces of our mission to be able to create more affordable housing for the residents of the District of Columbia. I want to start by thanking Tony and AWASH. How about a big hand for them? His work has been tireless, and I want to thank you for your perseverance in helping to make this happen. I think you know how important this is to us being able to send a message that we are serious about being one city. And if you're going to be one city, you're going to have opportunities everywhere in the city. So, Tony, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And Dunbar graduate, right? Where's Carrie? You should have been with us yesterday, shouldn't you? We walked the new Dunbar yesterday, so it's going to open in 2 months. But anyway, there'll be plenty of opportunities. I want to thank our council member. Where is she? There she is, right there in the middle, for being here with us today as well. The development that's happening right here in Ward 7 signals the opening of a renaissance, I guess I'll call it, on the east end of the city. How many of you were here for the groundbreaking in February of 2012? Yeah. Isn't this proof of the adage that a groundbreaking is nice, but a ribbon cutting is a whole lot better? This will mean that families on the East End will have quality, secure housing and energy-efficient appliances and playgrounds on the site. This will be home for 23 families to live in a mixed-income environment, and begins to help us, continues fulfilling the promise that we would have people who've been historically, because we've had public housing, at least as we know it, for decades in this nation, begin to move to mixed income settings. I think a dozen folks have already moved in. Is that right? How many? 11, yeah. So I was one off. Okay. We've had 11 of the 11 already have moved in, and there'll be more this summer. I think you know that we push for a new community and having a new community here, and I want to acknowledge my dear friend and my partner over here, Pat Malloy, who I've told the story 1,000 times that when I was a Ward 7 council member, we got on the phone one day and said, they're doing a new community over there in Barry Farm and Parkchester, and Sursum Quarter. Why can't we do that, at Lincoln Heights and Richardson? And we have moved forward to be able to make that happen. And Commissioner, I want to thank you for your leadership in making that happen. And also, Councilmember Alexander, who we will hear from both of you. I want to thank you for your perseverance, your leadership in helping bring this to fruition. This has happened in part because of a $19 million public-private investment in which we've been able to engage. I want to thank Deputy Mayor Hoskins. Has he gotten here yet? There he is. Oh, all I do is look. We were early this morning down at the launching, if you will, or not the launching, but a discussion of the wharf and a project that's going to be a game changer among a number of others here in the District of Columbia. So we both hurried out here to be a part of this. So I want to thank you, Victor, for your continued dynamic leadership in our planning and housing and economic development areas. Again, Tony, I want to thank you. I know this is a first-time development activity for you, and I know you've gained a lot of experience as a result of it. And I also want to thank the leader of our Housing Finance Agency, Harry Sewell, and also the D.C. Housing Authority led by Adrian Todman, both of them in working in concert, being able to bring a project like this to fruition. The I want to thank Dr. Veronica Jenkins and Elder Ronald Williams. Are they here? Where? Oh, okay. There you are. Okay. It's good to see you all. Homes for Hope, excuse me. Homes for Hope has been instrumental in helping us work with the families to begin to achieve their life goals. It's one thing to have the housing, but it's another thing to have the support that helps move people to another place. So, Elder Williams, thank you very much, and Dr. Jenkins for the work that you all have done to be able to bring this to fruition. You know, we're working hard to try to make this a world-class city, and this wouldn't be possible without the banking community, without a financial community, without a development community, and of course a community of people who we hope will benefit from this opportunity. I think, you know, we're having a summit, right, Council Member? We're having a summit, an economic summit in Ward 7 a week from this Saturday on the 29th, and I don't think that it's an overstatement to say that Ward 7 is under construction. We got a lot going on out here. You know, the rebuilding of H.D. Woodson helped us realize that we can bring new opportunities and open new doors for our kids to be able to learn science, technology, engineering, and math-focused curricula, which will open new doors for those young people. And it also sends a new ray of hope, I think, to people that we care about our children. We're building two new high schools that have taken down buildings that really were from an era when I don't know what the values were being placed on our children. One is Dunbar. I attended Dunbar High School, and the other is H.D. Woodson. And the kids who were produced, they're phenomenal kids. But you look at the structures that are being replaced, and I'm not sure what the value statement, if you can call it a value statement, that was being made about those buildings. In many instances, they had virtually no windows and looked like, as people have often described the current Dunbar, looked like a prison. And we're trying to get away from that mentality, to say the least. But in addition to HD, we have a Marvin Gaye Park, right, Commissioner, that we have worked hard on to be able to bring to fruition. Park 7 is taking shape over at Minnesota and Benning, right next to the Department of Employment Services, right across from the Dorothy Irene Height Public Library and other amenities. And there are other things that are coming towards 7 also. We are moving along, right, Victor, with Skyland. The construction of Skyland will start in April. Is that right? Boy, that is the longest undone project in the world. There are people who can go back to the previous century and not at the turn of the century with that project. There are folks who can tell you about being involved in 1989 and 1990 in Skyland. You talk about perseverance, Victor. I mean, if there ever was an example of it, that is it. But all the legal impediments have been stripped away at this stage. The developer is well underway, and we expect to have the construction started. We actually took down 3 buildings a few months ago, but we're going to move forward further. 4427 Hayes Street is now fully invested in and fully done. It'll be another opportunity for folks from Lincoln especially to be able to have a different place to live. The trash transfer station at 5201 Hayes Street. We are working with the developer there to move that forward. The Strand Theater. When did the Strand Theater stop having movies? About 1910? It was a long time ago, but it is a landmark. It is a landmark, and we are committed to be able to bring that back as well. And Kenilworth Parkside, we got a new clinic that's being completed in Parkside, and we are going to build a new recreation center. We have the dollars to be able to do that, and we're committed to make that happen. How many people are familiar with Eden Place? That's a great name, isn't it? Eden Place, the Garden of Eden, the townhomes, and we were glad to be a part of that as well. In any event, you know, we've got new jobs, new retail, and other development opportunities that are taking place here, taking place in Ward 8, especially the St. Elizabeth's campus, where we just launched the construction of a new food pavilion to be able to create new amenities in Ward 8. When we were here for the groundbreaking, and Harry will remember this well, we launched the Comprehensive Housing Strategy Task Force. And Harry, along with Debbie Ratner-Salzberg, agreed to chair it. And they did an absolutely phenomenal job of producing a report, Bridges to Opportunity, right? And it really is a blueprint to help us move forward. I would ask you all to give them and the task force members a big hand for the work that they did. The report came to us in March and includes a lot of things, like streamlining our regulatory process to expedite the building and permitting of housing in the city, making a significant investment in the Housing Production Trust Fund, developing a housing needs assessment, creating an affordable housing database, which we discovered during that work that there was no database. I guess the best information we had was kind of the back of an envelope. So we put money in the budget to create an electronic database to keep track of that. And also, the overarching goal, and that is to be able to create 10 by 20, 10,000 new units of affordable housing by 2020, and we are well on our way to being able to do that. I think we know that in order to keep people in the city, we're going to have to do things in order to make sure that there is support for housing. Otherwise, people will be driven out of this city. It's true of people who are seniors. It's true of people with disabilities, and it's true of people who are economically challenged and also may need wraparound services as well. We need to create the full spectrum of housing here in the city, and that's what the housing plan is about. And that's why I was pleased to be able to, in the budget, as we worked with the task force, to ask for $100 million to be invested in affordable housing for the District of Columbia. And I want to thank the council for having approved that. The full $100 million will be going forward, going into the Housing Production Trust Fund. For the most part, there will be other things. $87 million will go into the trust fund, and there will be supports for other housing as well. And we expect to have a leveraging effect on that, hopefully a threefold leveraging effect. And I know, Harry, you're working with that as well as Debbie to bring additional dollars, as well as Oraminta Newsom to be able to do that. In any event, the Nannie Helen at 4800 is not only an opportunity for people to have a great place to live, but it will be a place where, to the extent we can bring people to show what can be done with strategic, sensitive investments in housing that help people be able to stay here in the District of Columbia. We have appointed new people, by the way, to the Housing Production Trust Fund Advisory Board. And they will be working to help us know how to spend the money that we put aside and to continue to create additional dollars. This will be on top of the 15%, which now, that door is open again, of housing deed and recordation taxes that will go into the Housing Production Trust Fund, so that we once again have a steady source of money going into our housing here in the city. As I call up the speakers, I just want to mention a couple of other things. One, we have, through 2016, our pipeline indicates that we will have created 16,000 new or preserve 16,000 units of housing, more than half of which will be affordable in the District of Columbia. You know what a lot of people don't realize, they always talk about us being the core of the region, but we only have 11% of the population in the region, but we also have 54% of the affordable housing, which means that it would be great if we can work with our neighbors in the surrounding counties to say, come on guys, join us on this journey, so that we can make sure that people have an affordable, safe place to live. We've already produced 4,000 units of housing, and 3,000 of those units, in fact, are affordable. Again, 10,000 by 2020. That means we've got to, Victor and Michael, we've got to add 3,000 to 3,500 units now. So it's, and I say that only to say it's doable. So again, we've got a lot of opportunities before us. I also want to thank Capital One. Capital One has joined hands with us in this project and so many others. What a great partner they have been. How about a big hand for Capital One for what they've done? And Ed, you were with us at the groundbreaking, is that right? And now you're here for the ribbon cutting. And that must be a satisfying moment, and it is great. You know, we hear about Capital One sponsoring bowl games and all of that, but it's nice to see you sponsoring a housing game, and we appreciate that. We have a number of people who want to speak today. We would love to have you speak, and we're going to start with our council member for Ward 7, who will then be followed by, you know, if we have any other council members join us, we would certainly love to have them speak as well. She will be followed, Councilmember Alexander will be followed by our Deputy Mayor, Victor Hoskins. Then we'll have Ed to come up and speak. Then we'll have Harry, we'll have Adrian, and then we'll have my dear friend Patricia Malloy, who will come up to speak as well. All right, come on up, Council Member. How about a big hand, big welcome for Council Member Yvette Alexander.
Oh, there were steps over there. Good morning.
I like that move, though. That's in the spirit of what we were doing Saturday.
Right. Getting healthy. I am so excited. And for everyone who is represented back here, I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I know it's been a challenging road for Anthony Wash, but let me just tell you, this guy is one of the greatest guys in Ward 7. He's born and raised in Washington, D.C. He's invested in Ward 7. He has a business in Ward 7. And he said, let me take it a step further. Let me get into this development game. And let me take it a step further. Let me really show the residents of Ward 7 how much I appreciate and love them. And he had a vision for this project some years back, and it has come to fruition. That is so exciting for me. It's a challenge in Ward 7. I went to a meeting the other night, and a lot of the residents, you know, they see Ward 7 up and coming, and I'm excited about all the development going on in Ward 7. But when we look around the city, and Mr. Mayor, people have the challenge to say, I want everything market rate. You know, I want to see Ward 7 booming like downtown, and, you know, I want to see that. Well, I had to explain to people the ward I represent is very economically and socially diverse. And for every resident in Ward 7, as far as I'm concerned, if you have invested in our communities in our city, I want to keep you in our city. I can't push anyone out. And that's why we have to have a balance of market and affordable housing to satisfy all of our residents. You know, it's fun to imagine that you could fit into someone else's shoes, and I often do that. I often dream what it would be like to be Oprah Winfrey. You know, and that's fun. That's fun for me to do. But I think what's more important and what we all must do is to put ourselves in the shoes of people who aren't as fortunate as we are. Because the ward I represent, I have to ensure that those people who are not as fortunate as I am get what they are just due and get what they deserve. We are all in this community, so that's what's important to me. And affordable housing is the key. I am so glad, and not only affordable housing, but this is luxurious housing. This is quality housing. So affordable does not mean shoddy and cheap. Affordable means that we can afford to move into a nice residence, and we have beautiful communities. So, Mr. Anthony Wash, I thank you for always thinking of everyone in a community. Mr. Mayor, thank you, because it took his help as well. I can't take all the credit for this. It's a team up there. We pushed and pushed. But the mayor is invested in Ward 7, and I am truly, truly thankful that he is a resident of Ward 7. He represents the entire city, but he knows about the challenges and the needs in the community. And this is fantastic. It really makes me feel good for public housing to just be done away with. I think that we should never look into a community and know someone's economic status. It should be a mixture. And I know when I grew up, neighborhoods were diverse. You may have had someone next door to you who was a doctor, or you may have had a school teacher, or you may have had a housekeeper. It was a blend. And I also like the tradition of Nannie Helen, the naming of this building on this great street, the naming of the building after an African-American woman who has planted her seed in Ward 7. Unfortunately, the school has closed. The school has closed, so now her legacy can live on through this building. And it brought me pleasure when I entered the foyer. Is it the foyer? Can we call it that? Entered the foyer. The foyer into the building, and I saw her portrait there. So her history is really important for this community, and it lives on in Nannie Helen Burroughs. Thank you. I'm excited about new residents coming into Ward 7. I'm excited about keeping our residents who have lived in Ward 7 and who have believed in Ward 7 to stay in Ward 7. So thank you all. This is a great day in Ward 7, and there's more to come. So thank you. Ms. Malloy, are you coming up? Oh, Victor. Come on up, Victor. Our Deputy Mayor, Economic Development, Victor Hoskins. Oh, you stepped up, too.
By the way, for those of you who don't know, Nannie Helen Burroughs graduated from Dunbar High School.
There you go. I heard that.
She didn't graduate from Wilson?
I want to begin by thanking the mayor for his great vision. I'm too emotional for this business. Now, I really want to thank him because he cares so much about the city. You guys just don't know. You just don't know. You really don't know. He loves this city so much. He convinced me in 5 minutes to come work for this city. It took him 5 minutes to convince me to work for this city because I saw his heart. His heart is right. You guys got to know what this man thinks of this, not just this neighborhood, not just his ward, but this city. He cares so much. And when I met with him, he said he had a vision. He had a vision of one city where everybody had the same opportunity, no matter what your economic status, no matter what you did for a living, that you had a safe, clean place to live and that you had a job if you wanted a job, if you were willing to work for a job. I want to thank him so much. And I also want to thank Councilwoman Alexander. She made sure that this project happened, and councilmen have a very special way of making sure that the project happens. Let me just let you know. I also want to thank Brian Kenner. Brian Kenner was my chief of staff. He's now the city manager of Tacoma Park, and he gave so much time and effort to this project. He's way in the back. I want to thank him for his hard work and his long hours. I want to thank Kimberly Black King, Brandon Mitchell, Paulina, Senthil, and Mark Alberta for all of their hard work, and others. They've just done a tremendous job in making this transaction happen. This was not an easy deal to make happen. And most people know that I'm a numbers guy. I love numbers. This is a $19 million investment on 89,000 square feet. 47 units and 60% of AMI for 47 of those units, and 23 of those units are 30% of AMI. This is a 100% affordable project, and it's that way because of this man sitting right here, Awash. And Awash, we need to thank you for that. But the project goes beyond numbers. It actually represents families. When you think of a unit, a lot of times people, it's interesting, when people think of our projects in the city, they usually think of the dimensions of the project. I usually think of the project manager because I know that's the person that's working on it. But when I think of the units, I think of families because each one of these units represent a family, not just one person, many times 2, 3, 4, 5 people in a unit. So when you talk about 60 units, you're really talking about 180 people. You're really talking about a larger group. And to have safe, clean, decent housing is probably one of the most precious gifts you can give a person. Many of you know that I started my life in public housing. And I remember when we moved out of public housing, how great it was. We moved into a blue-collar neighborhood on the south side of Chicago. It felt like such a blessing. We actually had a backyard and a front yard, and we had a basement. And the basement was huge. Of course, it was as big as the house in Chicago. You know, and I spent a lot of time crawling around in that dirty basement because, you know what? It was a lot of free space. Everybody else was upstairs in a room. I had a lot of private space in the basement. That's something that's very precious. People don't realize what a little private space can do. It's where I did my homework. It's where I watched old movies. It's where you really get to know your home. So I want to thank everyone that spent time on this project. I want to thank my team for being so diligent. And I just like to close with, I have never met with a mayor that cared so much. This week, just the last couple of days, on Monday, he presented to hundreds of entrepreneurs looking to open up restaurants or continuing to operate or open up a cosmetology practice here in Washington, D.C. On Tuesday, he presented a $1.26 million check to 21 entrepreneurs in our great streets. And today, he stands here cutting a ribbon on a 100% affordable housing project in Ward 7. And Mayor, I thank you so much for allowing me to work with you. And I'd just like to give you one more point of recognition.
Good morning. Well, as Mayor Gray mentioned, people know Capital One as a bowl game sponsor. They know the What's in Your Wallet tagline. But one of the things that we really want to be known for is our motto that's right here on the stage here, investing for good. What people don't know about Capital One is a year ago we were named one of the top 10 affordable housing lenders in the country, and we made that again in 2012. And it seems to many people that Capital One came in from out of nowhere here. You may or may not know that we bought Chevy Chase Bank, but we've been doing this for a long time, and this is really the heart of where we want to be. In last year, we invested about $167 million in the D.C. metropolitan region alone in affordable housing. This is what we do. Investing for good. Maybe some people will always remember what's in your wallet, but when you do remember what's in your wallet, just recognize that what we do with the money that we get from you, that you entrust in us as deposits and for the business you do with us, is we turn it around and we invest in developments like this that Tony Wash made possible. All right, that's the commercial. You only gave me 2 minutes. About a year ago, we stood here, Tony, and I remember saying to you, you probably thought this was going to be hard, but you didn't realize how hard it was going to be. And now you know how hard it is. At that point, you probably thought, okay, now we got through the hard part. We closed the transaction. And we closed the transaction with the help of everybody whose name is behind me, with the Deputy Mayor's Office, with the D.C. Housing Finance Agency, the award from the Federal Home Loan Bank, Capital One as your construction lender and your investor through Hudson Housing Capital. We had Oak Grove bring Freddie Mac to the table. A lot of people helped bring that deal to a close. But that was just the closing, and then you had to build it. And it was not the sprint to the finish that I think you thought it was. It was an obstacle course. But you were able to make it through each and every obstacle. We had a lot of help, and the Housing Authority there, Adrian, and had a lot of help from people from the council, from the Deputy Mayor's Office, from a lot of people who pulled together to make this thing happen. And here it is. It's a beautiful property. It's going to be home to many people who really needed housing here in this neighborhood. And I hope it's just the start of what we can do here in Ward 7, and I hope it's the start of what you can do. But more importantly, I just want to thank you for sticking with it, for getting it done, and I'm cognizant of the time. I think I can let most of the rest of that go. And I just want to thank you again for entrusting us to be your partner. Thank you, Tony.
But I also gave a lineup. Come on up, council member. We obviously not going to deny you an opportunity to speak now. And I wanted to introduce you. That's why come on. Councilmember Bowser, of course, represents Ward 4, and she's the chair of the Committee on Economic Development. I had given a lineup earlier, and I wanted to come back up and give you a proper introduction.
Well, I appreciate that.
Okay,
Thank
all
you,
right.
Mr. Wilkins. Thank you. Well, greetings, everybody. I want to be quick and be thoughtful and be thankful for the occasion that we're here for. I want to thank the mayor, the deputy mayor, and all the folks who have been involved in getting this project done from the executive side. I want to thank the city council, and I saw my colleague and my sister council member, Yvette Alexander, here, and I want to congratulate her on a great project. But most especially, I want to acknowledge a great development team and all the partners that you see behind us, because we've already heard that it's not easy getting these projects done. But when you have great people who are committed to a goal, and that's quality, affordable housing all across the District of Columbia and right here at the Nannie Helen, we know how important that can be. It's been my privilege to chair the Committee on Economic Development and work with all these great folks. You're going to hear from the housing agencies, and I know that our housing commissioners are here from the DHCA, and I want to thank them for their commitment too. I had the pleasure of walking around Lincoln Heights with the community, and what this project means. It means for Lincoln Heights what it means for the other great communities that we'll have in the District of Columbia, is that we're creating new housing opportunities, and we're creating the avenue to transform our public housing communities, and that's why this is so very important. But you're going to have to work with us, hold us accountable, to make sure we have more ribbon cuttings like this, because it's going to take more ribbon cuttings like this to keep our promises to transform our communities. So congratulations again. Know this, you have my commitment to making sure that we don't just talk about affordable housing in the district, but that we do affordable housing in the district. God bless you all.
Good morning. Previous speakers have mentioned vision. And indeed, what is vision? Vision is foresight, the ability to look ahead, see obstacles and challenges. Vision is hindsight, who we all know don't wear glasses. There's a lot of woulda, shoulda, coulda that comes with hindsight. But perhaps the most important component of vision is insight. The ability to look inside of an issue, to find purpose, and then to move on it. So, Tony, while we were here a short time ago, and we congratulated you for your foresight in terms of bringing something to this neighborhood, in hindsight, we should be congratulating you for your insight, because you found your purpose and you sought to achieve it. You saw a need and sought to fulfill it. We can't wait to see what you see next.
Good morning. Adrian Todman from the DC Housing Authority. At the Housing Authority, and I'm very pleased to see so many of our commissioners here, which shows the kind of support that the Housing Authority has in this kind of project. Chairman Pedro Alfonso, who's sitting right here, CM Aquarius Rangashu. I think I saw Frank Lancaster walking in, and of course Terry Thompson, the vice chair of the commission. That is the support that we bring, is to make sure that very low-income and low-income families that live in D.C., particularly those that live at our sites, have a place to call home here in the District of Columbia, not just today but every day. The Housing Authority's funds from the federal government is being drastically reduced. We're now getting $1 million less each month because of sequestration. So with that kind of funding, we need to try to be creative with public-private partnerships like this to make sure that we can preserve very low-income units in this city that's growing so quickly in years to come. So it's projects like this where we're integrating low-income units, and there's 23 low-income units that are part of this facility. That means the Housing Authority will be passing on our subsidy to the owners to make sure that families can live here who are very low income. I'm excited for the families from Lincoln who will be moving in. I think it's wonderful. It's a sign of respect when we treat our clients with dignity by giving them a home that's livable. It's unfortunate the federal government can't see that, but I'm very excited that this city and this mayor and this council appreciate what that means to low-income families. So I can't wait for the next project. We are going to begin the very, very hard work of dealing with the redevelopment of Lincoln Heights. It's projects like this that will help us make that happen. Thank you all for your support, and thank you for the fabulous Housing Authority staff that made this happen.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Today is a very emotional day. We were here Wednesday, February 22nd, for the groundbreaking ceremony. Today we're here for the ribbon cutting of the Nannie Helen at 4800, a 70-unit affordable housing and commercial building developed by a black-owned developer, A. Wash & Associates, better known as Anthony Wash. Tony, thank you for being the person that you are, caring, bringing out the best in a person, giving men and women of color a chance to better their lives. The residents of Lincoln Heights and Richardson are given that chance by you and Gina Merritt. This was a major project. A lot of your personal money went to make sure the project was completed in a timely manner. To me, the Nannie Helen at 4800 was designed to perfection. Now I can say Ward 7 has a state-of-the-art apartment building with the exercise room, bike room, computer lab, and much more. Just like the new buildings in Ward 1 and 2. Yes. Yes, 23 families of Lincoln Heights will be relocated to this building. To all that played a part in the project, the mayor's office, Councilwoman Alexander, the D.C. Senate Council, Director Tyman, your staff, I'm so happy and proud that they had the best interests of the resident at heart. And I thank you, Director Tyman. To Dembad, Victor, Corian, Tia, Central, they will always play a part. Homes for Hope, and to the residents of Lincoln Heights, I love you all. This project, Tony, thank you so very much.
You know, every lineup, I was a baseball player, every lineup has to have a cleanup batter, right? Everybody knows what the cleanup batter does, and that is the cleanup batters look to hit home runs oftentimes, and the cleanup batter has been successful. That's why you're the cleanup batter in hitting home runs. Our cleanup batter today is Mr. Anthony Wash, and I wanted him to hear all the people who went before him because he deserves to be the cleanup batter in this lineup. I'm going to ask him now if he will come up and address us and talk about this project and what it has meant to him. Please join me in welcoming Anthony Wash.
going to try to keep this short and sweet. I want to thank a lot of you all for coming out to this event. And it's very emotional for me, too. The vision that came to me, I can't take credit for. The vision, I just followed instructions from God. And that's who I did. And I want to thank my grandfather for being here and being my ace-bone coon. Since day one, we, for those of you who don't know, my first home when I left the hospital was Berry Farms. So my life started in public and affordable housing. And some of the vision that was given to me was inspired by my mom. Grand Wash. And I want to thank her because growing up in the communities that I grew up in, it was important that I had good examples to follow. I had good role models. I had good leaders. And my grandfather put that in place by the way he raised his family. And my mother showed me all the possibilities by making sure that I had things to do in those communities. And she worked tirelessly. Yeah, I'm talking about you. You're the reason I'm here. You're the reason that I understood how important it was for a single mother raising 2 children with the cost of daycare and food and everything else to be able to not have to go to far corners of other places to live and come into D.C. to work. With all the building that's going around in this city, we got some very high-end projects. We got a lot of commercial. The city is really looking good thanks to the mayor and his vision and those who came before him. But unfortunately, the cost of living has gone up so much in the city as well. And the sad part is so many of those jobs that we create downtown, folk who work there can't afford to live in the city. So these projects, to me, are just as important as those projects down there. Because if we want to keep a tax base here, then we have to make it affordable for folk who can't afford to live down on Southwest and some of these high-end places that are really going to be nice. We have to give them opportunity as well. So a lot of the thanks went out to a lot of the players who were involved in this. And I could be here all day thanking folk, but it's some of the smaller folks, not the smaller folk, some of the people on our team that really made this possible. One of the most important people on our team was my development manager, Gina Merritt. And you talk about the spirit of Nannie Helen Burroughs. That was in Gina Merritt. Because Gina was cussed at, slammed down, everything that you can imagine possible to happen to a woman, and a black woman in an industry that is rare. And every step, she stood up stronger, she stood up taller. When I wasn't sure about things, she said, no, Tony, this is how it's going to do, this is how it's going to be. We laughed together, we cried together. We were up late, 3 o'clock in the morning dealing with issues. So I want to thank you, Gene. I can't thank you enough, but I want to thank you. I want to thank Torty Gallis for putting the vision into a design. I want to thank him. And whoever did the rendering, they did a great job because it looks just like the book. I want to thank them for all their hard work. Tireless meetings. For those of you who don't know, this has probably been about a 7-year journey. We started this journey before it came out as an RFP because I owned the land and my office was right on that corner. And we saw the vacant land and we wanted to do something for the community. And we started down that path. and we ended up here. I want to thank Bizzuto and their team of outstanding folk. I see Henry back there and Jennifer and Bobby. I want to thank you for dealing with me, bugging the heck out of you, getting on your nerves, and you guys were professional every step of the way. I want to thank you for that. I want to thank Rick Mossov and Mike Slagle, because without them, this wouldn't have been possible. They saw the vision early on and committed to give construction guarantees to get it done. They believed in it. They believed in it more than some people. I'm going to leave that alone, but they believed in it. They believed in it. I want to thank Pat Malloy. She's been my partner over at Lincoln Heights, Christmas, Thanksgiving, back to school. We always made sure we had something, and she always spearheaded it. And I want to thank you, because it took a lot of courage for you to come up, and I know there was disappointments. And I made a promise to you, and I wasn't able to keep that promise. And I love you, and I want to tell you thank you. Moving forward, I have to thank, I can't go without thanking the staff or thanking the Housing Authority. They have been fantastic. They have been at every project meeting, sometimes in 3 or 4. They've pulled me to the side after all these meetings and say, hey, Tony, watch out for this, this, this. They have been a true partner, and I really appreciate everything that they do. I want to thank the Deputy Mayor and his team. I know it was a hard push. I know it was unexpected. A lot of things were unexpected. A lot of requests were unexpected, and some things we couldn't do, some things we could do. But one thing that I have learned growing up in my grandfather's household and growing up in my community is when you make a promise, you keep it. Sometimes that promise hurts you. But the only thing we have when we leave this earth is our word. We came in here with nothing, and we leave with nothing. The only thing you got is your word. So I want to thank my staff at A. Washington Associates, because they made a big sacrifice. There was projects that we turned down, projects that we couldn't do, because all our focus was here at the Nannie Helen. And I want to thank them. I want to thank them for the sacrifices they made over the last 3 or 4 years. Without them, it would be no me. So I appreciate everything that you all are doing. I want to give a special thanks to Councilwoman Yvette Alexander for, again, bugging her to death. And I want to thank Ed Fisher for tirelessly helping us out to get over some of these hurdles and bridge some of these gaps that we had, unfortunately, in this project. I want to thank you for all the work you did, because you didn't have to do it. I really, really appreciate it. I want to thank JDC, who was our project manager, development manager, our construction manager. I want to thank them. Early on, it was said that, oh, well, you didn't need a construction manager in this project. You know, that cost didn't need to concur. Well, in the value engineering process, certain phase of the job got really overlooked. JDC found $350,000 in a design issue that we changed around. That paid 3 times what we paid them. That saved the city a ton of money. So I want to thank you for your diligence. I want to thank Hang. I want to thank you, Hang, for being so anal when you do your walkthroughs on these projects. I mean, Hang walks this project like it is the White House. And everyone here, that's how this is the White House to us. This is the most important project in the city to us, to our team. So I want to thank him. I want to thank Wanda Akins for sharing some of the beautiful artwork that you see in the building. This is artwork done by local folk, Ward 7th artists, who are through. If you come back, please visit the building going forward, because we'll have their artwork. It's going to be a revolving artwork. It's going to be a revolving art show. So the whole concept here was to bring something here that you would see uptown, that you would see on Connecticut Avenue. And there's a parable in the Bible that says, that which you do to the least of my brethren, you do unto me. Which means we all should be treated the same, irregardless what our economic situation is. You know, children deserve to come out into a hallway and see cleanness, see a playground. You know, I remember being in Edgewood, growing up in Edgewood as well. I lived Edgewood, Greenway, Berry Farms. We used to have movie night on Friday nights. And that kind of inspired what we did as you go in and you see the F. Harvey Fauntleroy Community Enrichment Center. It's movie nights. We want when the residents come into 4800, we want this to be their haven. We want this village to be able to help raise their children. We want to provide them information and opportunity through our business center. You know, I want to thank. There's so many people to thank. I want to thank DCHFA. I want to thank Harry Sewell for a vision early on when he knew that this is what we wanted to do. He called me. We had lunch. He paid for the lunch, just so y'all know. And he asked me some questions, and I knew it wasn't a regular lunch because some of the questions he asked me he was trying to see where my head was and what was going on. And we left that meeting. I had a lot of respect for him, and I believe he had respect for me, and we were able to move forward. But he had some soldiers in his office that worked tirelessly. I want to thank Denise Nielsen for not drinking the Kool-Aid early on and just really focusing on the vision and what we had to do and what we planned on doing. I really want to thank you for that. I want to thank Tony Waddell. I'm not sure if he's here. Yeah. You know, we left out of some meetings where I didn't think it was going to happen, and Tony said, "Don't worry, man. You're doing the right thing. It's going to happen. It's going to happen." So I want to thank him for that. You know, I want to thank my pastors who's here, Pastor John Robinson, who was instrumental in me turning my life around years ago and just giving me a vision and allowing me to open my ears long enough to hear God. So I want to thank you for that. There's so many other people here I want to thank, and please, if I forgot anyone, please don't blame it on my head. I want to, the team from Torrey Guys, I want to thank you guys. I want to thank Loomis Taylor for allowing us to put a camera on that building and being a partner with us. So I just want to thank everyone. This has been a great experience, and we look forward to doing many more. This is our signature, so we look forward to signing many more. Thank you.
Do we have any questions from the media about this project? And we'll take those questions, and then those who wish to leave may leave, and we'll go on with the rest of the program.
Can you tell us what the city's role was in terms of amount of dollars the city was able to put into this project?
Yeah, let me ask Victor Hoskins to come up and speak to that. You talking about the subsidy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to start with success has many fathers and failure is an orphan. The subsidies or the support for this project came from many sources. First of all, the D.C. Housing Finance Agency, they issued $3.6 million in a permanent tax bond issue and $4.6 million in a short-term tax-exempt bond issue. And then there were 4% tax credits. When you do these HFA bonds, you get a 4% tax credit. And Capital One purchased those tax credits, $5.7 million. And then DMPED, the Deputy Mayor's Office of Planning and Economic Development, put in $6.4 million, and that's local funding, and the mayor and the city council made that possible. And then the developer equity. And this is the hardest equity to come by. I mean, the developer takes a lot of risk, $2.5 million, and that's Anthony Wash and his team. And then there was some deferred developer fees of $550,000, and then a subordinated loan from the Federal Home Loan Bank of $500,000. So that was all the support that went together to do this deal. The thing that you have to keep in mind is that as every year passes, these deals get more and more complex. They cannot be done by one party. They cannot be done by one agency. And what people don't realize is whenever you add another agency, you also add another set of regulations. You add another financial institution, you add another level of complexity. And that really makes the deal so hard. And I think that a lot of the emotion that you've seen is really everybody so happy that they got through the struggle. So that's the overview. Thank you.
And again, how long did it take?
February of 2011 is when we started the groundbreaking. That was the ground. 2012 was the groundbreaking. Yeah, but I don't know when it really started because I've only been here 28 months, so I think it started quite a while before that in terms of the planning.
Just some round numbers, Bruce, to go back to where we were talking about the numbers earlier. It's a little over $19 million of support for this project. If you add down the numbers that Deputy Mayor Hoskins just enunciated, you'll get a little over $19 million. Matt?
Mr. Mayor, when can folks start moving in here, and what are the plans for the other elements of this space, the office space and the retail?
People have already started moving in. We've got 11 folks, I think, 11 units that have already been occupied of the first 12. And the move-in will continue throughout the summer until, I guess, it's all 70 units are occupied. Who can speak to the? I know we've got almost every one of our projects now has a retail component or an office component in order to be able to facilitate support to make the thing work. I don't know if any retail. Where'd Tony go? Okay. We'll get that information to you.
Retail, and we're talking to a number.
Yeah, come up here. Otherwise, nobody will hear you.
Hi, my name is Robert Tack with Capital Retail Group. We're doing the retail leasing. We're obviously working with Tony. We're marketing the space right now. We're in talks with a local, a number of local cafes, and we're looking for a healthy food option for the local residents.
All right. Other questions on this? Okay, that's the end of this part of the program. We thank you all for coming, and those of the media who would like to stay behind to ask other questions, you're welcome to do that. Let's give folks a minute or two to be able to exit. All right, Mike, you have one?
You're about to go down the hill. There's been some concern that this event, this unveiling experience, has a wider focus. It's not really about the community and You'd be concerned about that. Afraid this event to take a focus on actually the district congregating statute being directly.
Well, I certainly am not going to take the focus off of it, Mike. For me, this is a seminal moment to be able to make the case that in so many ways the District of Columbia is treated like a second-class citizen. We should have had a presence in Statuary Hall long before now, and I hope people realize that every state has two, and we'll only have one with Frederick Douglass going. There's a statue that was commissioned of Pierre L'Enfant, and that hasn't been admitted to Statuary Hall. So I intend to continue to use it as an opportunity to make the case for our representation in Statuary Hall, but the broader issues as well, like budget autonomy, legislative autonomy, a vote for our legislative representative in the House, and of course continuing our quest for statehood here in the city.
Do you agree with the way the congressional leadership handled the fact that some of these councilmen are going to get one ticket? Do you agree with the way the congressional leadership is handling this ceremony?
Well, we should be treated like every other state is for this ceremony. To the extent that we haven't been treated that way, it unfortunately underscores the second-class citizenship that we experience in the city.
I know you threw out a number for how many people from Lincoln Heights are going to be moving in here, but could you address the bigger issue of a lot of the public housing projects, as they're being shut down, rehab, whatever, a lot of the tenants just seem to disappear. So where are the other residents from Lincoln Heights and the other public housing projects? How many are you able to get into here, and are they somewhere waiting for this type of development?
Yeah, now remember, Lincoln Heights is not shut down. It is winding down, I guess is the best way to put it, Bruce. Now, through the New Communities effort, we have made a commitment that any resident who wants to return in some form or fashion to what's going to be redeveloped will have the right to do that. Those agreements are being entered into in writing for residents who may move somewhere else during the construction period of somewhere else. They are being kept track of. We have a record of everybody who is living in these developments as they change. So there is a solid, in writing, memorialized commitment to people who want to, from Lincoln or Barry or Richardson or some of the other developments, who want to come back to the development, the new development, will have an opportunity to do that.
And is it too early? I mean, do you have any percentages at this point of how many of those people have been able to move back into these new developments as they come online? Or is
I don't know, Adrian, you may know. Come on.
Good morning again, Adrian Todman, DC Housing Authority. We're not at the point yet of having families move back onto the site, because you can clearly tell Barry Farm, Lincoln, Park, Morton, Northwest One all still standing. So the commitment that the mayor speaks to is that once we've redeveloped the footprint, that's the commitment we have for the residents who live there now. We're very fortunate to have sites like this where we're able to have families move one time into their new units, but what we're talking about is going to come in the future once the footprint is actually redeveloped.
Matt.
To point out, Mr. Mayor, that D.C. has 11% of the region's population, but more than half of the affordable housing. Does that signal an effort on your part to attract people from outside of the immediate district area to make use of these spaces that you've been working so hard on?
No, what it signals is that I'd like our colleagues in the surrounding regions to get more involved with us to create more affordable housing. In theory, it ought to be proportionate to the population in the region. And, people have a right to live anywhere they want to. But at the same time, we want to be able to say that we are a region that has that kind of sensitivity to people who have affordable housing challenges. So that's the only point I was making, that we have 5 times the in relationship to our presence in the region, we have 5 times the affordable housing by comparison to the population.
Real quick,
Okay.
yesterday the council passed this closely watched food truck regulation package. Just wondering if you decided how you're going to handle that. There's a deadline for that next few days.
Yeah, we'll probably sign it. I don't think anybody is 100% happy with the regulations that have been adopted. There probably will be enforcement issues as they arise. So I don't think, even with the signing of this, that the process is over, because it is incredibly complicated. It has gone on now for several years, and we'll look forward to working with the council to be able to refine the regulations as the need arises.
We can't hear about here. Are you talking food trucks?
Yes.
You will sign that?
Yes. Okay, sounds good. All right. Thank you all very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, everybody